podcast focused on trends shaping the future of manufacturing. I'm Alexandria Burek, your host, here with A.W. Schultz, two thought leaders with a passion for people and manufacturing. Today and every episode, we are diving deep into the advancements, sustainable practices, and dynamic changes transforming how we produce everything.
And now welcome Alexandria Burek and A.W. Schultz.
We invite you to attend our 3-day workshop.
During this workshop, we'll be covering strategies to adjust technological changes as your organization transitions from Industry 4.0 to 5.0.
Walking out of this 3-day workshop, you will be equipped with a 90-day roadmap specific to your organization's digital maturity and unique needs.
Spots are limited. Reserve yours today. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Factory of the Future podcast. I'm Alexandria Burek, and I'm here with A.W. Schultz. Today, we are going to be covering the U.S. Management and Organizational Practices Survey, MOPS. So, A.W. found this in his research. 300,000 manufacturing businesses were surveyed, and some of the results are far more shocking than you would expect, and some are exactly what you might think. Today, we're going to have a thoughtful conversation about the results of the survey, some of the questions that we found most interesting, and what we think are the driving factors behind the data that we see here. So, AW, thanks for bringing this to the table. And why don't you give the team an overview of what do you have here?
Yeah, so if you're watching the video, you'll see this graphic up there. But if you can't, or just listening to it, let me unpack it just a little bit more on what makes this kind of exciting data, especially for those that like to deal with numbers and leadership and all that realms within the manufacturing. The survey, it represents essentially to me how managers or leaders operate in their organizations. It, like Alexander had said, it's 300,000, manufacturers, all US, and it asked them essentially about 16 questions, and it was meant to be completed in around 45 minutes. And all these questions are relating to, how the organization operates their business. And to me, I look at how the organization manages their people and communicates and tries to bring a healthy work environment.
Yeah.
So what you're seeing in here is the overview of the scores on that. And it's based on, one being the best and less than that being representing, those that are developing or lack some of the maturities on that. So in Alexandria, we were looking at this. So what leads the way right now is the paper industry and the fabricated metal products, which score like a point.
Primary metal products. Primary metal products.
Oh, primary. Okay.
Yep.
I missed it wrong.
Yep.
But they're leading the way in the 0.6, or we'll say 60%. So
yeah.
The way to look at that is what it doesn't say is what is good, what is great, but it just says this is what they are.
Top three really, at first glance, we were like, why is paper, why is metal, why are these and transportation, why are these the highest performing? And as we were thinking about it, I said, well, paper is a very dangerous industry, probably metals too. I can say transportation is as well. So when you think about it like that, the industry subsets, the manufacturing subsets that are the most dangerous have the highest management score. Well, good, because that means that those industries are taking seriously the dangers of their employees and trying to prioritize the safety and well-being of their employees. It's also probably some of the most, I would say, very niche and specific. So it's not like you could just go find somebody to work in these businesses. Metals, you could spend a lifetime learning about metals and still not know all the things there is to know about metals once you really get into it. Same with paper and paper creation and all this other fascinating stuff. But I thought that was wild. What AW and I were kind of perplexed by was the apparel being so low. What did you think about that? Like, I have my hypothesis about the highest performing, but why do you think apparel is so low?
I don't think it's overly automated,
Mm,
and there's not really a lot of concern with asset care.
yeah,
Um, and it might be a high turnover, so there's not really on investments into the people. Probably doesn't pay that
yeah,
well.
yeah.
These are just things that run through my head. But yeah, I was a little surprised on that.
Yeah, maybe outsourced labor too, because a lot of that stuff is manufactured and made overseas,
Yeah,
whereas primary metals, um, paper, transportation, that's all US, that's all domestic as far as we're thinking about it. So that could be a factor at play as well.
yeah. It could be a smaller sample size too. That's pulling it down.
Yeah.
But yeah, certainly the paper. That's pretty relevant in the U.S. and again,
Mm-hmm.
highly automated. A lot of assets dealing with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's really, really awesome and interesting that the most of the industries that I work with and interface with in my career are some of the highest performing, and that's encouraging to me. I think that's amazing. And I just want to be a champion for them and with those industries. Like I'm seeing the plastics and rubber products, the chemical industry, all of those industries there. I want to be a champion for them and with them to improve their scores as time goes on. What I thought was also interesting, AW, is we were talking about preparing for this episode was how the size of the organization, you know, is replicative of what their management score was as well. So for those of you who could see this on screen, based on the size of the organization, the smaller organization scored more poorly and the largest organization scored the best. I think if you were going to just ask me off without seeing this data, I would be not surprised, right? Because
Yeah.
larger organizations, they have the people, they have the processes. The smaller, less than 20 people organizations, things get done, but it's a little chaotic, it's a little wild, it's a little dysfunctional, disorganized, but it gets done and it's profitable. I think in that, 50 to 1,000 is when we start getting the SOPs. We start really thinking about how do we manage up. We start creating more roles where management is we want to promote from within. Where when you're thinking about a 1 to 20 person business, how many managers are there? In that kind of business, everyone's a doer and a manager. You don't really have many people to delegate to in a 1 to 20 person operation. So those are some thoughts there. Did you see anything that stood out that we didn't get to talk about with the employee size and their scored relative?
I wasn't overly surprised by it.
Yeah, that's what we would expect to see.
Yeah,
That's what,
it's about what
what,
I
what,
expect to see.
yeah, yeah.
But then we roll into the 16 questions that they
And
were asked.
boy, did we nerd out on this, did we not? It was hard for us to put
Yeah.
this down. We were like, well, we could go, we're like, okay, well, we got to get this episode recorded. So we're gonna put a pin in it. We can come back and always bring it into future episodes. We're definitely gonna bring it into our workshop. So I'm excited to bring this to folks via the workshop and also this podcast. So go ahead, AW, take us through some of these questions that we highlighted.
Well, the first one comes down to the question is managers' production problem. So whatever goes on through the day, things break, you know, HR issues, things that draw people into, a response mode.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of the respondents, meaning that the highest percentage is 55%, say we fix it and take actions to make sure that it didn't happen again.
Yeah,
Had a continuous improvement process that they go about it. Um, Alexandria and I were going back and forth, and I said, I think that's a little bit high. I also believe that this was probably answered by managers who believe that they're actually addressing a lot
yeah,
of these problems. But if you were probably asked maybe the people
yeah,
working the lines, I think they might have a different response to it.
yeah,
The other thing was that there was at one point it says no action is taken. So bad things happen, nothing gets done. And
yeah,
they reported just under 2%, which again, I think that should probably be a little bit higher.
yeah.
But based on who they're asking, they might have a different vision of what they think they are.
You know, the other thing that now going back, I might have a different perspective the second time we're talking about this. So the 55%, we fixed it and made a continuous improvement plan. I'm kind of thinking about like the bureaucratic organizations, the overly, uh, process improvement plan type places, right? So if if a paper clip falls out of the holder, there's companies out there like, well, we've got to put a plan in place to prevent this from happening in the future. So I almost feel like there's this sweet spot of what, being selective with what people choose to prevent in the future versus letting some things go. And I think kind of this survey is kind of illustrating that there might be people who are over documenting and over continue, like over root causing, like simple little things like, well, the door stayed open. Okay, well, just close the door. Like we don't need to have a training program on closing the door and a policy that says close the door at the end of the day and a sign on the wall that says make sure you close the door like that stuff. I kind of think that companies are overdoing it with. What's
Oh
your
no,
take
that
on
doesn't
that?
happen. There was no way that would ever happen. I,
You,
yeah,
you,
that happens all the time. It's
right,
amazing.
right.
I always say that okay, something happens. You should have some indicators that if you have this much downtime, it requires a corrective action. But also, you shouldn't be assigning that one person all these corrective actions. And
Right.
also, if the corrective action takes longer than the actual event, you shouldn't even be doing it. It's just a
There,
waste of
that
time.
is such a genius rule. I'm so glad that you bring that in. And with that being said, that segues nicely into our key performance indicators. So the next question was, how many key performance indicators does your company use? And the options are 1 to 2, 3 to 9, 10 or more, none, or just simply no response. And AW and I were looking at this and we're like, 3 to 9. I said, how can you possibly be focused? Because that was the highest response rate was 3 to 9, which, okay, hopefully most of those are 3 to 4. But I mean, I gotta say, our department has easily 9 to 12 key performance indicators, which
Yeah.
is fine when you're reporting up to senior leaders as, here's how we're doing, right? But if you're trying to give priorities to frontline workers, anything more than 3 is too many. It's unfocused and nobody stands a chance to succeed because you can't put 100% effort into 9 different categories. You just simply can't.
Yeah. I mean, they're called key performance indicators. And we didn't highlight this one, but you look at 30% of organizations have 10 or
10
more.
or more.
If
What are
you have
they?
more than 10, you have no priority.
Yeah.
It's just,
You've diluted everything, right? Yeah.
yeah, it's that's amazing. That's amazing.
I
That has to be part of our talk for our workshop too, bringing that up into some
yeah. I
maturity
I
model.
I I think that could be a whole assessment is what is your key performance indicators and how are these communicated down to the folks that are expected to execute on those? Because I think one of the next two things that we highlighted are directly related to communication, right? So we highlighted the display boards, right, to communicate to folks about what's important and how they're performing. And then the second one was how many people know um what they're expected to deliver on. What are the key performance indicators? So AW is having trouble finding it on the screen. That's okay. We could talk about it from memory. So firstly, if we don't have display boards, people aren't going to know what's really going on. And 50% of the people said they don't have display boards. But then yet at the same time, if you scroll down a little bit, they also said 50% of everybody and managers and production workers alike, just under 50%, are completely aware of the production targets. So does that mean the half that didn't respond that we don't have any display boards, the remainder of them are the ones that everybody knows what's going on? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Uh, you know, because I'll see this every once in a while. And then when I ask, they say, well, everyone's got access to
Yeah.
the share drive and they can look at it anytime they want. But in reality, they're not going to look at it.
No one's going to find stuff.
You got to bring it in front of you so everyone can see it, talk about it. And how do you know when you're having a good day or a bad day?
Well, And I love what you just said there about boiling it down. Was today a successful day or not? A thumbs up, thumbs down on the display board. You could just literally have something that goes up and down. Did we meet our targets? Yes or no? What are our targets? And then the second thing there that I thought was interesting, um, it just escaped me because I got excited about something else. Like recently I'm going live with an integration for my job, and basically our what would be the equivalent, our drivers, our production workers are not performing inspections according to process and procedure. So I'm trying to coach up my managers to get them to get their drivers to do this. And I realized I was like, well, let's set a target. Even if it's kind of arbitrary, having at least that bullseye to aim at. I figured, okay, 75% of the work orders that we do on a given month should be derived by driver reported issues, right? So I said, okay, if we go based on that, then 300 work orders a month should be driven by driver communicated channels. And that's something that I asked them to communicate, because if the drivers don't know, that means each driver just has to submit 2 work order types, 2 inspections with defects a month, and we would hit our target, right? But if we don't have a target, how do we know we're succeeding?
Right. You know, so the other thing, I guess, just to wrap this up, awards for production targets, almost 47%, all managers and most production workers get it.
Aware of.
Oh, aware. Okay, yeah, that's a
Right,
big
that's
difference.
what we were just talking about. So you're dropping down to the performance bonuses is what you're interested in.
Yeah.
And I'll let you take it away from there.
So it looks like about 50% of the, we'll say, the manufacturing workforce receive no kind of bonus. And 20, I guess the takeaway is that there isn't a lot of incentive for people to want to
Perform.
perform.
Yeah.
It's not to say money isn't the only, but based on these questions, if bonus isn't part of it, what is some of the other programs that they're doing that are trying to drive engagement from the employees?
Right.
Which this isn't asked.
And the other thing here too is that just tells me that that's a huge opportunity that organizations can really look in the mirror on. If you're struggling with retention, if you are not seeing the kind of development in your organization that you're interested in, or you're trying to achieve, maybe that's a key performance indicator for your HR department, is what people are promoted from within. Start looking at your performance bonuses, because if 50% of manufacturers aren't giving performance bonuses, that could be your biggest ROI right there. I mean, we talk about it all the time amongst ourselves at the organization I work with, and it's like if they would offer us 5 or 1% of the savings projects we deliver, I'm sure that we would improve our savings projects even beyond what we're currently doing. Like if I could earn a performance bonus based solely on the work I'm doing, if I save $1 million and I get 1% of that, you know what I mean? That could be a simple thing that organizations could do to improve engagement, improve retention, and reduce turnover.
Yeah, agreed. So this is part of the U.S. Census. It came out in 2021, and it was a study that was done in the I think it was 2017. But just the breadth of the samples is just amazing.
Yeah.
It I think that they did a good job. These are well thought out questions, and
Yes.
I love this data. But
Me
uh,
too.
I got to figure out how we're going to use it, because this is powerful. This is powerful information.
Very.
It helps decision making, and it really goes down that realm of how you invest in your organization and your people.
And I mean, we're living in a world where everybody is swimming in data, right? That's what Industry 4.0 is all about. We're all swimming in data. We're overwhelmed with it. The key now, as we transition from Industry 4.0 to 5.0, is making meaningful use out of the data that exists and making sure that the people feel empowered and make it easy and fun for them to use the data to drive better performance in their businesses. I mean, that's really what we're after here in the workshop. That's what we're after in this podcast. That's what we're after in as individual humans out there in the business world, just helping manufacturing businesses get a little better each day.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right.
Clocking out here.
Clocking out like finished goods.
Yeah,
Right.
we're out.
This is Factory of the Future, and we are out of here like finished goods. Stay tuned for our next episode of Factory of the Future, where we're exploring groundbreaking techniques and behaviors that are reshaping industrial landscapes. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review and help others discover the cutting-edge insights transforming manufacturing as we know it.